The voice within. Today I want to share with you that there are two voices within. And searchers, people who seek spiritual development, pay greater attention to the second voice than the first one. We begin by looking at love today, a vital component of our integrity. Byron Katie, a relationship counselor, once said, "The voice within is what I'm married to." All marriage is a metaphor for that marriage. My lover is the place inside me where an honest yes and no come from. That's my true partner. It's always there. And to tell you yes when my integrity says no is to divorce that partner. A consistency with our integrity is seen as an indication of virtue or achievement. And this is a task that never ends. Oprah Winfrey says, real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. And this is the challenge. It's always something we can work on. It's a task that continues from childhood through youth, adulthood. We wrestle with it, we struggle with it, right up to the last day of our life. I read from Eknath the Swan earlier because he points out we must start where we are. Start where we are. This contrasts with what I often observe. It seems many people are not aware that any old spot is a good spot to begin. Some are unsettled about their life situation. Things are not going right. Several things are not working out according to plan. And in the worst of these cases, nothing at all is going well. I've also met those who bemoan their progress. The path toward their desires seems too long, much too long. Oh, if I could just get it all right and do so quickly. And I've met people who are totally disillusioned. Some of these may be out on the streets searching for food and lodging. But all of this makes no difference. We start where we are. We don't have to wait until our love is perfect to reap the benefits of it. Even with a little progress, everyone benefits. Not only those we live with, but ourselves as well. We start where we are. Once started, but the building of love is ongoing. It can be developed, maintained, and strengthened if we make an effort. This is also true about growing into a better contact with the voice within. Moves directly from one to the other. Last week, in the midst of a message on Black Lives Matter, I referred to Don Miguel Ruiz's comments on the voice within. Some of you may have wondered then, or wonder now, who is Don Miguel Ruiz? He was named one of the Watkins 100 most spiritually influential living people in 2014. He is a current sage, teacher, prophet. Raised in the Toltec tradition, his parents and grandparents were Nagual, or shaman. His immediate ancestors wanted him to follow them, but Ruiz chose to study in the United States. He went to medical school. He became a surgeon. But he had a nearly fatal car accident in the 1980s. And in the midst of that experience, he felt himself as a pure awareness, living totally apart from his body. He was still there, but he was not connected to his body. That experience led him back home, a good place to go when things are shaken up. And he began an intense study of his Toltec heritage back in Mexico. He published the Four Agreements in 1997. It remained on the New York Times bestseller list for more than 7 years. It's a great text. But the text with a deeper study of the voice within is The Voice of Knowledge, a practical guide to inner peace. When I opened the text of The Voice of Knowledge, I found that his first chapter is on Adam and Eve. Interesting place to begin a book, huh? But Ruiz looks at this text from a different point of view than Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. He praises this story as one of the greatest teachings ever, but quickly adds that most people misunderstand it. This is a story, he says, about you and me. Eve and Adam represent each of us. When we look at the story, we see that they lived with a great respect for each other. They were innocent. Their lives were in harmony with the beauteous earth on which they walked, talked, and lived. By comparison, we are also born innocent, also born into a state of simple, naive love. And our parents protected us just like God protected them. Ruiz uses this setting to dig into an exciting shift in the tale of Adam and Eve. He reminds us there were 2 trees in the Garden of Eden. One was the tree of life, which gave life to everything in existence. The other was the tree of death, which was also known as the tree of knowledge. Now this was a beautiful tree, covered with juicy fruit, very tempting, but God said, do not go near the tree of knowledge. If you eat its fruit, you may die. Now there was a snake in this tree of knowledge. And this snake was a fallen angel. We're told this in the text. And that snake was filled with twisted words. It chose lies over truth. It lifted up messages of fear over the contentment found in love. It talked and talked and talked, sharing its lies and fears with Adam and Eve and with us. And it presented those lies and fears as knowledge. Knowledge. Return to the text. Adam and Eve and we too went to that tree. We had the most incredible conversations with the Prince of Lies. We were innocent. We didn't know. We trusted everyone. When that snake talked, we listened like a child listens to his or her grandparents, eagerly awaiting the next detail of their story. End quote. In short, that snake, seizing us in a state of innocence, seduced us. We bought into its twisted fabrications. And when we began to fully trust these fabrications, we began to share them as our own. We passed them along. This is a story Ruiz uses as a basis for pursuing inner peace. How does that happen? He says that peace will come if we drop our dependence on the old knowledge that has been handed down as the truth for generation after generation. This old knowledge continues to infect and distort human society. So much so that it has become a yapping voice in our heads. It hops from one idea to another, mulling over our parents' words of guidance, the latest set of laws, the old laws that led to new ones, the processes, the shifting tides of society, the advice of a close friend, the latest words from the banker, the broker, the lawyer, the doctor, the spouse. All of those things. The Buddhists refer to this as the monkey mind. It's persistent, talking and talking, a bickering within that slides through every waking moment. Ruiz tells us the voice of knowledge can also be called the liar who lives in your head. Another way to think of this voice is the first voice within. It is there. It is a mental voice. We hear it in our multitude of thoughts. And this old knowledge originated with the snake in the tree of knowledge. That's the point of this story. Now, I've heard another interpretation of this, and it says that the first enlightenment is something most people go through as they move from childhood into adulthood. There's kind of that time for many of us, was for me, may have been for you, where you moved out of your parents' house and at first you just threw all caution to the wind and did all sorts of nice, interesting things to do. But then came a day in which you decided to figure out how to settle into society and everything else and what's the best procedures to follow. This is getting in touch with the first voice. How do you get along with the society? But there is more to it. Hermann Hesse says, you are only afraid if you are not in harmony with yourself. And I read Hesse as referring to a new knowledge here. As Ruiz tells us, your integrity, your spirit, the truth has no language. You just know the truth. You feel it. This is why the step to the second voice within is a spiritual journey. Those who are on that spiritual search, that sort of thing that many people claim in this day, are really looking for the second voice within. This move is to the emotions. It is to our heart center. It is to a place where the chattering of our brain no longer happens. But this is not an easy step, because that first voice within is powerful, ever-present, and tricky, kind of like that snake, particularly if it originated from a falling angel. And we may hold different views on this, which is entirely fine. Our only concern is to separate the first voice within, the mental voice, from the second voice within, the voice of truth that is felt and has followed us from the years of our childhood on. Many follow a path of meditation, and it is an excellent tool to reach a deeper inner space. I would suggest that meditating fosters inner peace and encourage meditation if you can do so, but many, I have noticed, are too busy to stop and meditate. Have you ever started a meditation practice but dropped it due to time constraints? I have. Several times. Still, I value what it can do. I continue to think I'm going back, but Ruiz offers another path. And I am going back. I am going back. It's better now than it has ever been. But Ruiz offers another path to us. He says we can drop our fixation on the monkey mind by learning two new approaches. First, don't believe yourself. When your first voice within begins to mull things over, don't believe it. Don't go there. Let it chatter. Doesn't mean anything. And then, don't believe anybody else. He suggests to be a skeptic and remain a skeptic. If you don't believe yourself and don't believe anybody else, all of the lies that come from the voice of knowledge won't survive your skepticism. But there's one more step. At the same time, it's wonderful to listen to people. And listening is promoted as a tool to help people develop. You can listen to others because you may hear them say something that comes from their integrity. Their integrity may speak to you. And if it speaks through them, and your integrity hears that integral voice coming at it, your spirit will be filled with joy. Your spirit will go on to use their words to fortify the second voice that lives within you. So that section on listening really meant something to me, because it's one of the primary purposes of our chalice circles. And these small groups are designed for members to share their thoughts on monthly themes. Our monthly themes, you may have noticed that we have monthly themes. This month it's integrity, next month it's faith. These meetings are not designed for give and take, not designed for correcting someone or setting them on the right path. These meetings are designed for the exchange of ideas. They do feature a process of developing the powers of listening. Our hope at Community Church is that you hear the second voice within being shared in these chalice circles. Our hope is that you're listening to text spiritual insights or the soul materials of those around you being shared in these Soul Matters meetings. And our hope is that more of you find your way to these chalice circles. There is always an open chair. You are invited anytime you are free, anytime you can find one that fits into your schedule. Sit down with the deeper voice of your CCUU partners. Hear them share, and share with them from your central core, your spiritual center, your sense of your soul. So I began by reviewing the development of love, then turned to the development of the voice within. We considered the first voice, the talker, and turned to the second voice, the innocence at the center. I believe this second voice is the place of our integrity, and we will do well to hear it, and hear it well as our journey through life continues. As Renee Maria Rilke said, may what I do flow from me like a river. No forcing and no holding back. The way it is with children. May the love in your hearts find love in the hearts of those around you.